there's a lot of growth and development happening on Daniel Island and on the Cainhoy Peninsula. Today, I talk one-on-one with City of Charleston Councilman Boyd Gregg of District 1, which covers Daniel Island and the Cainhoy Peninsula, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Councilman Boyd Gregg, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are the Charleston City Councilman for District 1, which covers Daniel Island and...
the rest of the Cainhoy Peninsula, really.
Yeah, yes, indeed. So tell me, Councilman, how do you, as a councilman, help make Daniel Island and the Cainhoy area competitive today so that the City of Charleston can be better tomorrow?
Well, I think top of everyone's mind right now is controlling growth, preserving quality of life. So particularly here on Daniel Island, we've seen tremendous growth, almost built out on Daniel Island proper. We're going to continue to see rapid growth in the Cainhoy Peninsula, and so managing that growth while maintaining our quality of life is kind of my top of mind. I think the other component of this that a lot of folks don't think about is, with housing, we really have a supply and demand imbalance. And so to make housing more affordable, we have to bring more units online, but you have to balance that with, obviously with more units coming to the market, then there's more cars associated with those units. I am excited about what the city's doing with the zoning code rewrite. I think that we're going to address the missing middle in housing, and so I'm excited about what that's going to do to the housing market and help bring bring affordability while also managing that growth in a responsible way.
That area, Daniel Island. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I lost you. You were. I didn't hear you there for a second.
No worries. Yes, sir. And I wanted to ask you this. How do you actually grow that area, Daniel Island and the Cainhoy Peninsula, with smart growth?
Well, again, I think the zoning code rewrite is going to be a big part of that, addressing the missing middle in housing. So, between really what we have right now in housing is single-family, high-density apartments, and so looking at duplexes, quadplexes, townhouses, things like that will allow people the ability to buy, own property, own homes, not just rent, but also, a little bit more density will allow for more affordability in that equation.
Yes, sir. And I want to get back to that in just a second, Councilman. But let me ask you, how many of those single units do you have currently on Daniel Island and in Cainhoy?
Oh gosh, single family units. Well, when we look at Daniel Island itself, it was designed for about 7,200, and we're going to be close to that. I think by the time everything that's currently permitted or under construction gets built out, we'll be very close to that. The Cainhoy Point Hope development is about 9,000 additional units on top of that. And then we have some other planned unit developments with 300, 400 units here and there up and down the Clements Ferry corridor. I mean, to address your previous question, growth is not a problem out here. And really it's not a problem anywhere in the Charleston region. We have people flocking to this region. I think it's more I think we actually have the opposite problem, is how to we have to build the infrastructure to accommodate that growth. If we have a huge population moving in here and we don't address the infrastructure needs prior to that growth arriving, then our quality of life is going to suffer. So I think, if anything, we have the opposite problem, is we need to pump the brakes a little bit on some of the population growth. But it's a good place to live, and I think as long as Charleston's on the cover of every travel magazine as the best place in the world to live, or whatever they call it, whatever our superlative of the month is on these magazines, that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people moving from all over the United States, and including places like which I love, Tennessee and beyond. But let me ask you this: when it comes to those single-family units, obviously under construction, how many of those, or how many of those are actually under construction? That is, versus being permitted.
Um, well, so I don't think we have many right now that are permitted but not under construction. Right now, I think what we're looking at is more neighborhood by neighborhood, getting built out in the Point Hope area, further up the Cainhoy Peninsula. The exact number, they're being released about 200 units at a time right now, I think is the number. So, I don't know when the last time you went up there, but there's a substantial amount of growth in that area in the last, really the last, 3 years, but the last year has been really something impressive.
Wow. Yeah, I haven't been out to the island in a while. I need to get back out there for work. But let me ask you this: with all of that right now, Councilman, what exactly, as we just mentioned about the population growth and everything, people moving here from Tennessee, Ohio, and other places, what exactly are infrastructure, needs in District 1?
Well, I'm thankful Berkeley County is about to wrap up the Clements Ferry Road widening. That's a big piece of it. We just finished the Bearsford Creek Bridge replacement. That was another big piece. We're going to continue to have transportation needs. I think I think top of everyone's mind in the region is 526. 526 is sort of the artery that it's either clogged or open and affects all of us on a daily basis. And so, to me, that's probably the biggest issue for District 1, but for really the region as a whole is addressing the bottleneck of 526. We'll continue to have water and sewer infrastructure needs. Charleston water system's been great at keeping up with that. And the city does a great job of maintaining our stormwater system in this area. We're blessed to be on high ground in District 1. We have a stormwater system that was largely built by the developers out here that functions really well. And so we don't have the flooding issues, thankfully, that a lot of the rest of the city has. So provided that the city's been doing a great job maintaining those systems and continues to do that, I think we'll be in good shape on the stormwater and the flooding front.
Yes, sir. I am sweating now, by the way.
I'll try to.
Oh, no, you're fine. I love the heat versus the cold. But let me ask you this, Councilman. Okay, when it comes to those, first and foremost, when it comes to 526, are you in favor for that expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't see any way that we can continue to operate the way it's been operating now. I mean, for example, we're talking about the county is talking about building, Berkeley County is talking about building additional helipads out here because there's concern about, if you have a medical emergency on Daniel Island, the closest hospital, you have to get on 526 to get to a hospital. Can the ambulance get to you and get back? And so Berkeley County recently built a helipad on Daniel Island to help with that. They're looking at building additional ones off of Clements Ferry Road. So, I mean, I use that as an illustration just to say that, that's a big concern, 526. Will we be able to get where we need to go without being stuck in, what's become a parking lot pretty much every afternoon at 4 and 5 o'clock?
I've seen that and heard about it as well. Sorry to hear that. Hopefully something will get done with that soon. But where else do you want those helipads to be located in Berkeley County, specifically in your district?
Well, I think we're going to need one up closer to Point Hope, so on the northern end of Columbus Ferry Road. We've got one at Daniel Island. Likely there needs to be one kind of centrally located on the Columbus Ferry Road corridor. The county handles EMS out here in Berkeley County, so that's really their decision. But with the city, we're looking at building additional police and fire stations up Clements Ferry Road, and currently have plans to build some of those facilities right now.
And do you all currently have money for these additional police and EMS facilities? For fire?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Our city does a great job of long-term capital planning, and so we do have a good facilities plan in place, to build additional public works, police and fire stations, as well as parks out here. So that's another thing that's going to need to happen is additional parks and recreation space for those 9,000 units that are going to get built eventually. That's a lot of people that need parks and recreation space as well.
Where on Daniel Island and in Cainhoy do you need parks right now?
The biggest need for parks will be in the Point Hope area. So if you look at that development, it's it's split across two sides of Clements Ferry Road. So we'll need a pretty large. We'll need a number of park facilities up there to accommodate planned recreation, sports, things of that nature.
Yes. Now, and please correct me because I'm trying to stay ahead of everything. I'm trying to read up on everything. But will this be a part of the referendum that was proposed?
Yeah. So the text in the referendum did. So the Parks Bond referendum. The language in that does mention acquiring property for park space on the Clements. Well, I think it says in the Cainhoy Peninsula.
Now, how many people currently living on the Cainhoy Peninsula?
I think my number from is from 2022. We're over 15,000 residents out here now. Wow.
Where do you see that population growth heading in the next 5 to 10 years with Cainhoy and Daniel Island?
Well, really, the only place it can grow now is the north side of Clements Ferry Road. So that's where there's land available. That's where development is occurring. I mentioned to you, Daniel Island is essentially built out now. And like I said, we're over, looking at remembering from the numbers from redistricting, we're well over 15,000 units, or 15,000 people on the Cainhoy Peninsula now, and so much so that District 8 had to take a piece of Daniel Island in order to balance out the districts. So it's pretty significant population growth when you look back over the last 20 years. 2-3 previous council members. This used to be a tiny sliver of somebody's district. Now it's a whole district in and of itself, plus a sliver of another district downtown.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm sitting right here downtown Charleston, probably in parts of your district, but I'm not sure. But I want to get back to all of that in just a second. But I want to go obviously to what you talked about earlier, which is townhomes. And the Daniel Island News said on June 20th, the Planning Commission reviewed a request to subdivide the highlighted lot on Sportsman's Island Drive on Daniel Island to accommodate 6 townhomes. Let me ask you this, Councilman. Why only 6?
Likely that's all the site would accommodate. I'd have to look specifically at that one. So, obviously you can't, you can only build what the lot will accommodate. I think that's a pretty small area that they're looking to subdivide, if I recall correctly. And so that's likely all that they can build in that spot.
And will these particular townhomes be for rental or for purchase?
I don't know. I'd have to look specifically at what the developer's plans are.
Okay. Have they submitted that to you all so far?
I think that's in the TRC process right now, but I'll have to look. There's a lot of, I don't know how many developments are currently in the TRC process in District 1, but it's dozens right now, so I can't keep track of all of them.
Sure, of course. Of course. I want to talk to you also, because the newspaper said this about, as you mentioned earlier, the Noel Creek Village, which is Daniel Island's next big thing, according to the newspaper. The former Black Bar building has already been transformed into a 200,000 square foot office building called Marshside. Still to come are 50 luxury townhomes, a boutique retail spaces, a 320-unit multifamily apartment complex, and a community park with a dock. But let me ask you this, Councilman. What happened to the Daniel Island master plan that says the plan is to emphasize the island's natural beauty and draws upon the architectural and planning traditions of South Carolina Lowcountry and other successful historic American towns, villages, and rural settings? How is this particular village a tradition of the Lowcountry?
Well, I actually do think the architecture is quite nice on what they're building. that parcel was zoned as general business, and so the developer was well within their rights. In fact, that development didn't even come back to council or planning commission for approval. So that developer was within their rights with what that parcel was entitled to build what they're building. In retrospect, should that have maybe stayed an office building? I don't. It was a soccer stadium. The Battery chose to relocate. It was going to be a vacant parcel, and so I guess the market said that there was a need for those townhomes there, and so that's what's occurred. The office building itself, I think, is they've made some very nice improvements. I think it looks much better. I can't speak to whether that's it's historically accurate architecture and low country tradition. I'd say when I drive by, I think it looks nice. Clearly, there's a need for additional housing in the area, and the developer saw fit to build that.
Look around that area. Where else could housing be obviously located in that area?
Well, we're running out of parcels over there. I think until you get back onto Clements Ferry Road, there's really not a lot of open land available for development anymore. There's a couple of small parcels left here on Daniel Island. There's some additional townhomes and mix of townhomes and single family being built by the rec center off of Fairbanks, but that's really the only thing that kind of comes to mind other than single family home sites now.
And I know between the new Black Bar, the old Black Bar, and the old benefited focus, there's more vacant, SF on Daniel Island alone than in the entire rest of the Charleston metro area. And I know that 115 Fairchild is half empty as well. So how does the city and Berkeley County invest accordingly?
Well, obviously that's not sustainable, having that much office space vacant. So we hope some vibrant commercial businesses are going to come in and use those spaces. I think that, again, this is a very attractive place to live and work. And so certainly, somebody's going to come in and locate their business there, I would expect.
Now, in your mind, Councilman, do you believe that Daniel Island has too many residents and not enough infrastructure?
No, I think the infrastructure on Daniel Island is quite good. I think I mentioned earlier, we're lucky. We've got a great stormwater system, so we don't have the flooding issues that we do in other parts of the city. We've got a great city parks out here. We have the Governor's Park, which is well used by lots of kids, mine included. And then we have Freedom Park, we have Etowah Park. So those are all, we got a great parks plan. We have centrally located police and fire. So I think, from an infrastructure perspective, we're in good shape. Are there too many people? I don't know. I don't think so. Daniel Island, when it was contemplated back in the mid-90s, we're going to, at build out, we're going to be right at the number they predicted when they went through the original planning process. So I think we're in good shape out here. Everybody wants to be the last person to move to Daniel Island. You can't pull the ladder up behind you after you move here, right? So I think we'll manage with the folks we have. And the good thing that I think population growth and density has brought us is, you look at the number of restaurants, Credit One Stadium, there are businesses that are thriving now that, when I moved here, actually I've been here for 16 years now. 16 years. When I moved here 16 years ago, that didn't, those businesses weren't surviving. So, you look at the number of restaurants that turned over in a single spot. I mean, it felt like in some of these buildings, every 6 months you'd get a new restaurant. But so now we have, a number of good restaurants. We've got a great grocery store that's going to expand. There's some new spots coming along on River Landing as well, and so I'm excited about what that means. The Blackbaud development you mentioned, they're building some restaurant and retail space there as well. So that those bring new opportunities for kids to have jobs for the summer and families to move here and start businesses. So I think that's a good thing.
Something very interesting because I was over at the Credit One Stadium to do an interview with Bob Moran about families about the Bob Call opened a couple of years, well, maybe a year or two ago. I don't drive, by the way, but I took the Uber over. But when I was done, I actually went over to Publix for a sub for lunch or whatever, and I thought to myself, with all these people coming here and moving to Daniel Island, Councilman, does the town, does Daniel Island, that is, need two grocery stores?
I don't think so, and I don't know where you would put another one. Publix is going to expand that current store.
Oh yeah,
they've got plans to do that right now. I think it's almost going to be double the current size, which would be a great benefit for us out here. I don't know where you put another grocery store, but there's another. There's a Publix further up Clements Ferry Road, about I guess a 10 or 12 minute drive up in Point Hope, and then there's Harris Teeter across the bridge in Mount Pleasant. So. We got plenty of grocery stores.
Yes, sir. And I want to go back to that old Blackbaud Stadium because I want to ask this: with the townhome homes that is being proposed, how will the 526 traffic, 7 Farms, and Daniel Island Drive have impact on people living there?
Well, we got a long ways for this 526 expansion to get underway. I think the last I saw is 2030 or something is when they're going to actually start construction. So we're and who knows, when the state DOT says 2030, that could mean 2040, and, I might not be around by then. So, how that will, that's way in the future. Those 6 townhomes, that's not a significant traffic impact, really to anybody there. So,
how about noise?
You buy a house next to 526, you're gonna know. You got to know there's gonna be some noise, right? I can hear 526 from my house when I go outside at night. It's just a fact of where we live. I think that I saw that in whenever this gets built, when 526 expands and is modernized, I think they're gonna potentially lower the Wando River Bridge, which would likely have an effect of mitigating some of the noise. From some of the trucks that are coming from the port as well.
And I would love to come back and bring you on Quintin Stills to talk more about that in depth. But we obviously talked about Noel Creek, which is a pedestrian bridge across the Noel Creek, is set to begin construction early next year, according to the Daniel Island News. The plan features of the 60-foot footbridge includes a boardwalk and an enhanced crosswalk designed for pedestrians and cyclists. But then, does this actually look to be a colossal waste of money, Councilman, to build separate for pedestrians when the vehicle traffic bridge is already slated to be reconstructed?
That bridge is not scheduled to be reconstructed. So that Noel Creek Bridge will likely be in place. I think they say it's got 30 additional years of structural life on it. So that bridge is in good shape right now. We just replaced the Bearsford Creek Bridge. And so, no, I don't. The important thing on the Noel Creek pedestrian bridge is going to allow folks over in Shellring to be able to bike or walk to some of these amenities on Daniel Island without having to get in their cars. So they can go to that new Noel Creek development, in the place of where Blackbaud was, and get over Daniel Island on their bikes and enjoy some of the restaurants and things. Eventually, with the hope that we get the pedestrian path that Berkeley County's building as part of the Clements Ferry Road expansion and modernization, there's a pedestrian path on Clements Ferry Road, and so eventually we will hopefully be able to connect, from Daniel Island all the way up Clements Ferry Road. That'd be a heck of a bike ride. I'm not sure I would want to do that, but but I think some have a desire to see that pedestrian path connected all the way through, and that Knoll Creek Bridge is really a critical link in doing that.
And for us runners, that would be amazing to have that pedestrian bridge path, that pedestrian path, I should say.
Yeah, and then the new bridge we just built has a really impressive pedestrian walkway attached to it. So that's not the pedestrian path. Unfortunately, is slightly delayed, so the bridge is open to vehicular traffic, but the railing is there's an issue with fabricating the railing for the pedestrian side of the bridge, and so that's currently being built or being fabricated, and then when it's finished, they'll install it later this summer, is what I'm being told.
Yes, yes, sir. I heard about that as well. Now, going back to this pedestrian bridge, Councilman, the crosswalk with a blind curve, is that even feasible?
Yeah, we'll have the rectangular flashing beacons, the rapid flashing beacons there. That's, I think that's, it's not really a blind curve there. I'm not sure who stated that it was a blind curve. The crosswalk would be kind of in front of where the Blackbaud development is. So the blind curve, I think that they're referring to, is further off of St. Thomas Island Drive, and this pedestrian path actually connects to a trail system within Shelvering, because due to wetlands issues, they couldn't do they couldn't connect they couldn't parallel St. Thomas Island Drive, I guess, with the pedestrian path. So anyway, that's not really a blind curve there.
Okay. Now, the Daniel Island News reports that obviously the bridge has been, the upper bridge has been reopened to traffic beginning June 6th, which was just recently. After nearly a year of closure for reconstruction, the bridge boasts a length of 95, obviously times 120 feet, and the two new travel lanes are each 11 feet wide, but there's still more to come, obviously. So, how many cars have actually crossed that bridge since June 6th?
Couldn't tell you. Probably a lot. That's a pretty popular thoroughfare to get off of the island, particularly when I mentioned when 526 is backed up. So if you need to get to Columbus Ferry Road, that's the preferred way to do it when 526 is in a stranglehold. My kids, two of my kids. One just graduated from Phillips Simmons High School, which is up Columbus Ferry Road. My middle child goes. She'll be a rising junior there this year, so that's her way to get to school every day. Now
that the bridge has been opened, Councilman, how exactly is the traffic flow there?
It's improved quite a bit. So we look at, there are a couple of intersections that, with the bridge closed, we had some traffic issues during the construction. So it was about 10 months of construction from when the bridge closed at the end of August last year to when it opened in June, early June this year. And we definitely saw some impacts at some of the interchanges. So Seven Farms and Island Park Drive was one where you get on 526 to go westbound towards North Charleston. The other was River Landing and Fairchild. That was another key intersection, and then River Landing and Seven Farms. So the three big intersections on Daniel Island also quite a bit of additional traffic due to that bridge being closed.
So, and I want to ask this because I was just thinking about this. So, what are the weight restrictions on this bridge?
I don't think it has weight restrictions. I mean, you couldn't drive I don't think you could drive a heavy one on it, but there were weight restrictions on the previous bridge due to load capacity. So I'm not sure exactly what the weight restrictions are, but I haven't seen any posted, so I assume that unless you have a extra heavy load, you can drive over the bridge now. It's quite impressive, the construction there, and this one should last a lot longer than the last one did. And that last bridge had a kind of an interesting history, so I'm excited. Hopefully this one will last us another 100 years or so.
Yes, sir. And quickly, while I have you, because I have probably 6 minutes left according to Zoom, let me turn to something that's still developing, obviously right here in the city of Charleston. That is Union Pier. This is coming from WCBD. Low country businessman Ben Navarro has agreed to purchase Union Pier, according to the television station. The 70-acre property on the peninsula, which currently serves as a terminal for Carnival cruises, is slated to be redeveloped, that is, after the South Carolina Ports previously announced it would not renew the cruise line's contract for that space. Mayor Cogswell, the new mayor, has outlined his vision for the property prior to the sale that included providing public access to the waterfront, adding significant green space, utilizing lower density and height restrictions for building and affordability. So when did you all, as a city council, knew that Union Pier was actually going to be sold to Mr. Norrell?
Oh, I found out probably the same time you did, which, but I think I found out when it got reported in the paper. Union Pier has kind of the last couple years taken up a lot of the oxygen in the room. Obviously, we went through the planning process, a year and a half ago. We went through the design charrettes and community outreach meetings. I attended quite a few of those. And then and that was when Lowe was working on the master plan. And then, presented it to the community. It obviously didn't receive great approval within a number of folks in the community, and so back to the drawing board. And then that was when we were going to go through the process with the Riley Institute, and it's hard for me to remember all the iterations and changes that have gone through Union Pier. But hey, I'm all ears. I'm excited to hear what they bring forth at this point. And curious to see how it shakes out. Seems like a really nice piece of Charleston that I'm excited to see turned into something other than empty warehouses.
Now, you mentioned the Riley Institute, Councilman. Was the Riley Institute being used as a smokescreen for this particular project?
I don't think so, but I'm not privy to what was going on behind the scenes there. I'm just a city councilman in District 1, so I'm not sure. I wouldn't think so. It seems like everybody's been operating in good faith and been forthright in all the communications and the information that's been coming to us.
The port didn't. Obviously, the South Carolina Ports Authority didn't honor the timeline that they communicated to the people here in the city of Charleston.
I missed the first part of that question. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, no worries. Why do you think the port didn't honor the timeline that they communicated to the people of Charleston?
Well, I think they've been challenged with, obviously, the reception that the first design received that Lowe developed, which I thought was a really nice plan. So I don't know if you recall what that one looked like, but it was higher density kind of in the center of the site. And of course, it was pretty much instantly lampooned as soon as it came out about 7-story buildings on a berm or whatever they talked about. So, but I think some of the characterizations of Union Pier and have been unfair, especially with the previous plans. I thought those previous plans were very good. So hey, until they get a plan that everybody buys into, which I think is going to be very difficult, then they're not going to be able to build anything.
Timeline from the city of Charleston do you all intend to commit to the taxpayers of the city?
Well, we're not in control. If it's being bought by a developer tomorrow, then he can sit on it as long as he wants or develop it as fast as he wants within the constraints of how the city goes through with development or how we approve developments.
Development height concerns with Union Pier?
Well, from my listening to folks within the community, I think it sounds like the previous plan with Lowe had some 7-story buildings. I think that was not well received. So there's no right now that area is zoned light industrial. So really, whatever comes to Planning Commission and ultimately City Council for how that parcel is subdivided and entitled. It's we'll just have to see what gets sent.
Might be a little complicated question, Councilman, but what integrated planning and urban landscape design for Union Pier would actually fix the potential flooding in that area?
Well, the previous design was pretty unique in that it had a sort of had a natural. Well, if they were going to build up the site up to that 12-foot above sea level grade, and so the site's so big that you wouldn't notice it. It was a slight slope, and so some of the renderings showed that. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell that you were looking down a street with it. And of course, it'd be the only quote unquote hill in Charleston, but it was the way they had designed it was such that you'd have this essential, call it a berm or a barrier of a built-up elevation that would prevent, essentially would act as a flood wall for that section of the city. So that could get integrated into the perimeter protection plan, and you wouldn't have to have a hardscape barrier there for the perimeter protection. And so that's a whole nother issue. But so anyway, I thought the previous plan was good, and that it did accommodate some flood protection features. Actually, a lot of flood protection in it, and it also allowed for a lot of natural space on the old docks. So that would all have been the majority of that would have been turned into park space. So we're looking at I think a 40-acre park kind of on the old pier site, which you can't develop because it's all on piles. But they would have turned it into a pretty impressive park space. And so, hopefully we'll see some version of that as well in the new plan.
The plan, does the city of Charleston even have a water management plan at this point?
We do. We have actually quite a few of them. So the integrated water management plan is that's been in the works now for a while. It takes a long time to study these things. We also have the Army Corps of Engineers, the 3x3x3 study that sort of ended with, or not ended, but that's kind of where we have the perimeter protection plan. There's also an Army Corps of Engineers inland and tidal flooding study that's currently underway. So we have a lot of studies, but the integrated water master plan is the one that's I guess that's been in the works for the last year and a half. Which really what that does is integrate all of our stormwater plans with a lot of the Army Corps plans and looking into the future, as well as looking at the impacts of sea level rise and all the things we're dealing here with in the city that it's quite complicated.
Yes, sir. And I hope to get you back on Quintin's Close-Up so we can talk more about issues in your district. But for now, Charleston City Councilman Boyd Gregg, District 1, thank you for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks, Quintin. Have a good day.
Likewise.